It is Kieran Trippier. It is delicious! Glorious! Glorious!
Walker in there too. Luke Shaw! Harry Kane wants it played into him. He chooses Grealish instead. It's Grealish! It's Kane! England have nothing like this has happened for a long time. Here's the overhead kick from Kane. Palmer finds Watkins. Watkins turns! Watkins scores!
Hello, and welcome back to the Gate 102 podcast. I hope I find you well. Thank you for tuning in today. It really is always hugely appreciated. In my last episode, I spoke about England's 5-1 win over Montenegro, which was a European qualifier, and it capped off what was a rather great start to their qualification campaign. But today's game, I'm back to Nations League action as England face the Netherlands in the semi-final stages. Obviously, a few months before this game, England had won their Nations League group, which involved Spain and Croatia, and this meant they were through to the final four, and England were drawn to play Netherlands, and the other semi-final was Switzerland versus Portugal, and I'll touch on that game later as well. But regarding the starting lineup, it was Jordan Pickford in goal, back four, right to left of Kyle Walker, John Stones, Harry Maguire and Ben Chilwell. So quite a familiar defensive setup, I'd say. Midfield, it was a second start for Declan Rice. He played next to Fabian Delph, who was a lot more experienced. And then Ross Barkley was playing slightly higher up. And it was then a front three of Raheem Sterling on the left, Jadon Sancho on the right, and Marcus Rashford up top, leading the line. So a very fast attack, really. But you're probably wondering, where's Harry Kane? Harry Kane always plays. So yeah, Kane played in the Champions League final for Tottenham against Liverpool just a few days before this game. So Southgate made the decision to start him on the bench as he was still sort of recovering from that final. Jordan Henderson was also on the bench as he played in that game. So yeah, not only was it two of England's best players on the bench, but also England's two main leaders on the bench. So you're probably wondering who's captain. Raheem Sterling was given the honours of wearing the armband in this game. And I think this was also down to the fact that it was his 50th appearance for his country in this game. So I think Gareth decided to reward him hitting that milestone by giving him the captaincy. Sterling at the time in this game became the third youngest player to reach 50 appearances. I'll tell you what, I'll give you till the end of the episode to work out which two players hit 50 appearances before Sterling did. And I'll reveal the answer at the end of the episode. But moving away from the team and on to what actually happened. So, if I'm honest, I thought the first half an hour was a bit flat from both teams. Not a lot happened, to be honest. The game was still sort of getting going. It was a bit sloppy, and I sometimes think this is often the case in knockout games and semi-finals because there's more jeopardy, there's more at stake for the game. So, yeah, it can take a bit of a while to get going. But half an hour into the game, Marcus Rashford managed to capitalise on what was a poor mistake at the back from Holland. A poor back pass, and Rashford used his pace just to snatch the ball and be through and goal. And he was then taken out. A poor challenge, meaning it was a clear penalty. Inevitable that it was going to be given. But brilliant speed from Rashford to utilise on the mistake. Harry Kane was obviously England's penalty taker, but with him on the bench, it meant it was Rashford to take from 12 yards out. So Rashford won it, he took it, and he scored it. He sent the goalkeeper the wrong way, a really composed and confident penalty from someone who's still really young at the time. And yeah, England were 1-0 up going into half time. And I suppose the one benefit Rashford did have playing as a striker over Kane, not that there's many, because obviously Harry Kane's world class, but the one benefit is Rashford does offer that more of a threat running behind, whereas Kane's a very different profile, likes to drop deep. And I actually think for this game, having Rashford's pace as a number 9 actually made a difference. So yeah, it was great to see, really. But Gareth would have been really pleased with how the first 45 minutes went. And one thing I will say is Netherlands failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. So this for them was golden. This tournament was so important for them, considering they hadn't had a major tournament in 3 years. So whereas England, obviously they went to the World Cup, and it was still important for England, don't get me wrong, but I think it wasn't really focused on as much as Netherlands. Obviously, they missed the previous summer. This was their first sort of taste of tournament football in a while. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I know I just touched on the difference between Rashford and Kane, but Harry Kane was subbed on at half time for Rashford. And I think it was expected that Kane would come on because he wasn't in a condition to play 90 minutes. But if you give him a half, he'll be able to manage that. But what did surprise me was the fact that he brought Rashford off. I know he was playing as a striker, but I thought he'd put Kane on and put Rashford on the wing and take one of Sancho or Sterling off, because Rashford was playing really well and obviously got the goal. But no, Harry Kane, straight swap for Rashford, which I think surprised me. But anyway, play resumed for the second half, and this time England had their main striker on the pitch. Around 53 minutes into the game, England had a golden opportunity, really, to double their lead. A header from Jadon Sancho. It was Delph who crossed it in. A really great ball in, just swerving ball. And it was on a plate for Sancho, but his header, he maybe could have directed it a bit better, but it was a really good save from the goalkeeper, to be fair. But you did feel it was a real missed opportunity for England. And following that miss, Netherlands started to come back in the game a bit more, getting a bit more possession. They were definitely playing better than they were. And you could sort of sense a goal was coming from the opposition. You get that feeling when you know that if England don't change something, that they're going to score. And yes, so it came. 73rd minute of the game, Netherlands got the goal straight from a corner. A really powerful header, a free header, in fact. England's marking could have been better, but in the end it was 1-1. And I just kept thinking of that Sancho chance. And not that it's all on him, but I just think if he scores that, it's a totally different game from then on. But yeah, it was 1-1, and I think for the final minutes of the game, it became very stretch, very end-to-end stuff, and it was really exciting for a semi-final. And this is why I like the Nations League, because it does offer that competitiveness and a bit more excitement than what friendlies would usually offer. I must admit, with about 10 minutes to go, things got very dramatic. England actually thought they'd won it late on. Jesse Lingard, who'd come off the bench, was played through on goal, and he managed to score. And it was a classic counter-attack from England. And for a moment, it looked like they were heading to the final. But VAR intervened. Lingard was just offside. Literally a toenail was beyond the last defender. It was one of those really marginal calls that you wouldn't have spotted in real time, but VAR caught it. Goal ruled out, still 1-1. And this decision sort of completely changed the mood, I think. So marginal, but you could feel the energy sort of drain out of England when you think you win it, you think you score the winner, and then it gets ruled out, and it's almost a bit. The referee blew the whistle, and extra time it was, and England's second semi-final in 2 years, and both had gone to extra time. If I'm being honest, extra time was a complete disaster. Everything started to unravel, really. And this is the part that's the most frustrating because England were not outclassed in open play, but it was their own doing as to why it went wrong. Just a few individual mistakes. I look back to the Croatia game a year before that semi-final, and it was clear that Croatia were better than us. Whereas in this game, I felt it was almost, like I say, our own doing, our own mistakes. Early next time, John Stones was caught in possession. He sort of dawdled on the ball a bit under pressure, sort of just lost his composure on the ball, and a real concern. And yeah, England were in trouble. And the original shot was saved from Pickford, but the rebound fell in the back of the net. Actually deflected off Walker for an own goal. And yeah, Netherlands were in the lead. And you could see the frustration in the players' faces. Stones was visibly gutted. A bit of a bad mistake from his standards, but these things happen, especially in knockout games. But at 2-1 to the Netherlands, and given the players they had on the pitch, you did get a sense that it was becoming more unlikely that we'd get back in the game, really. And yeah, just minutes later, another costly mistake. This time it was Ross Barkley. Pickford played it short to him. Barkley just miscontrolled it, really, under pressure. And again, the Netherlands just punished England. Depay to Promes, goal, 3-1, and that's game over, really. And you've got to say, in a game of fine margins, those mistakes were the difference. You know, it was so frustrating considering England played quite well overall, and I thought gave a really good account of themselves. It was just such a shame that a few errors that don't usually happen happened. And it wasn't just Stones and Barkley. You can't put it all on them. But both those players were players at the time you just wouldn't have expected to make those mistakes. So it was a bit of a shame. So yeah, like I say, extra time was a bit of a shame, but England could take a lot from the game. Southgate would have learned a lot. He played decent against a very good team. The Netherlands were a highly ranked team at the time. I think they should be proud of what they've achieved, England, not just in this game, but in the tournament as a whole. Beating obviously Spain and Croatia previous year. But I think it goes to show that mistakes happen when players are fatigued. Obviously, it was towards the end of the season, obviously next time, so a long game. But there were so many positives to take from the night. Some individual performances were really good. But England were out of the Nations League ultimately, but still had one game to go. I mentioned before how the other semi-final was Portugal v Switzerland. Well, Portugal won that one, so it meant Switzerland will play England in a third-place playoff game to round off the summer. And that's what I'm talking about in my next episode. And it's a really exciting game, that one. And it does go to penalties. So make sure to listen to that when it comes out next week. It's one of my favourite England games, to be fair, outside of a major tournament. Also, earlier on in the episode, I mentioned how at the time of this game, Sterling became the third youngest player to reach 50 appearances for England. And I asked which two players hit that milestone before him. Well, I can reveal that the answer is Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen. So, well done if you got that right. I might start doing that a bit more, where I have sort of like a trivia question or something at the start and then reveal it at the end, maybe. I don't know, but something I'm thinking about. But yeah, that just leaves me to say, as always, thank you for listening. Really appreciated. And until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon.